Yeah, well, conversations and dialogues have been quite fruitful and insightful here at the Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reductions taking place here at Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre in Brisbane, Australia, with the participations of nearly 4,000 delegates comprising of government officials, ministerial representatives, and also local communities and private sectors, media, journalists alike. They've all convened here and deliberating, and these delegates have raised specific issues in line with the main theme that have been raised throughout the conference, which is from crisis to resilience. When we take a look at the elaborations from our fellows at ASEAN Secretariat, there was this deliberations on the specific program and agenda from ASEAN for the region of Southeast Asia in the name of ASEAN Agreement on Disaster Management. These have been elaborated into different principles to institutionalize, to localize, and also to communicate these principles to people who live in prone to disaster areas. So they need to comprehend the full mechanisms to disaster risk reductions. And ASEAN Secretariat, through its representative at the session, also conveyed and elaborated on the work program and their agenda that have been started last year, 2021, all the way to 2025, which is the work program for the ASEAN Agreement on Disaster Management. One of the interesting sub-program that was elaborated at the session was how ASEAN came up with Safe School initiatives, and ASEAN through its secretariats and representatives in different member states of ASEAN will continue to push towards building disaster resilient nations through its safe school initiatives, meaning that the schools around the region should be built with better infrastructure to mitigate the disasters and to have some sort of strong mechanisms to reduce the risk of disasters. And more importantly, risk and resilience should also be incorporated in the curriculum, in the education of students at school. So they will be among those who are equipped with enough knowledge and ways to get themselves to safety whenever a disaster in their area occurs. We also spoke to representative of the Philippines, one of the prominent speakers at one of the events which have taken place in parallel here in Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre, and also to the representative of United Nations for Development Programs. There have been discussions on the phrase "Build Back Better," which originated from the Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reductions, GDPRR, a few months back in Bali, Indonesia. That particular phrase of "Build Back Better" has sparked some sort of debates and discussion back and forth between the delegates. Some of them would agree on that particular phrase of build back better, but some would not. Some would just revert to build now, or either build back stronger, and some would just eliminate the back and stronger, but rather build for the future, meaning that these delegates would agree that the recovery process for the people, for the livelihoods in the disaster-affected area should not take place at the same place, bringing up the issue of relocation, which in the case of Indonesia has been quite a complex matter. As we know that in many different areas that have been affected by disasters, relocations involves, if not thousands, tens of thousands disaster-affected citizens. And in the case of Indonesia, a lot of the citizens have been relocated to a safer zone, however, albeit slightly distant from their origin of livelihood. And this has initiated some sort of resistance. The initiative of relocation has been met with resistance, and in the 3 to 6 months' time, they would return back to their origin place, which is still considered a danger zone to live in. And this is in regard to the cultural and disruptions to their daily lives and their livelihoods as well. And we also spoke to the Philippines, which have had their fair share of a disaster, as in Indonesia. We would face plenty of disaster threats from the land. We would have landslide, we would face with inundation, floodings, and also earthquake and volcano. As in the case for the Philippines, the threat would come from the sky in the form of hurricane and also a typhoon. And lastly, the one key thing that we can just sort of become a takeaway from the deliberations was that how these participants would agree that disaster risk reductions is highly essential to avoid disruptions to key drivers to economy and social life, meaning that they have to be able to come up with multifaceted and also tailored solutions to the problems. Rahmat Idris and Boni Mokalu from Brisbane, Australia, reported for TVRI World.